chess. Baku Grand Prix being played from October 1st, October 15th, 2014. Great world-class players. One of the qualifying tournaments for the World Championship for next year. Hi folks, John Cordisco back again with another game from the FIDE Grand Prix in Baku 2014. Round 1 action between Prix-Gelfand, World Championship challenger from Israel, and Andreikin from Russia. Boris is originally from Russia, he's now from Israel. Gelfand's white, Andreikin is black. If you remember Andreikin, he came in second in the Grand Prix tournament in Tromsø, Norway. He lost, I believe, to Vladimir Kramnik. This is a series of tournaments that's to determine who gets in the candidates final, and that tournament determines who plays in the World Championship in 2015. We all know next month in November, Vishy Anand won the last tournament. He's going to be challenging Magnus Carlsen and try to get his crown back. Anyway, let's get to it. It's going to be a Queen's Indian. Interesting opening. I kind of like it. I play King's Indian a lot, and sometimes Grunfeld. Grunfeld's a little tough for me. King's Indian's really a lot of fun, though. But I start playing Queen's Indian. Gelfand's white, Andreikin is black. G3 by Gelfand, Bishop B7 by Andreikin. I'm just going to go through the opening here. This is all, I'm pretty much book stuff for these guys. Pawn takes. Bishop takes. If knight had taken after knight to h4, black's already lost. You see why. Once he moves the knight, bishop takes, and you're a pawn for a piece. You already lose. After bishop takes, knight to c3, hitting the bishop. Bishop c6. Pawn d6. Interesting might have been knight takes. Then after knight to d5, bishop e7, and it gets crazy. It's basically an even position, believe it or not, with black being up 2 pawns. It's an even position. Go figure, because what happens is if you play bishop takes, queen takes, now the queen is hitting the rook and the knight simultaneously. Anyway, enough of that. d6, castles, bishop e7. Again, knight takes c4 is what they call a poison pawn according to the computer, because after knight takes, bishop e7, rook to e1, and black's in a lot of trouble. It's almost a 4-point advantage right now for white. Some of these openings you have to be really careful, especially ones you're not familiar with, because people that play these openings a lot, if you're in a tournament game, they know all the nuances. They know all the tricks and traps. So just play solid. Knight to h4, g6. Interesting enough, though, I'm not really sure why he went g6. He's not going to bring the bishop over there because he's on e7. Computer calls for castles or knight b to d7, and I kind of agree. Andreikin goes g6. Now, I don't have a recording of it, but Gelfand had mentioned in the short press conference he had when he went over the game that Andreikin plays some dubious moves in the opening, and maybe this is one of them. Bishop. Now that stops him from castling. That's a big deal. Your king's in the center of the board now. Now he has to go to the bishop. Bishop takes, king takes. Now he's got to make 2 or 3 moves. Move here, and then move here. And it wastes a ton of tempos. It's like giving your opponent 2 or 3 moves in a row. You're going to get killed. Queen, knight to e8, rook a to d1. He's piling up now on that d6 pawn. King moves, f4. He feels really secure now. Moving that f pawn. I don't see. There's no dark squared bishop to harass the king. I think it's a good move. I kind of like it. And actually, the computer agrees that was the computer's first move. Right now, it's over a 1.5-point advantage for white, and black is up a pawn. So when you're up a pawn and you're down by almost 2 points, you're in trouble. Queen to c8. Knight to d5. Excellent move. Get those pawns right up now. It's almost a 2.5 point advantage for white. And we're on move 17. Obviously, something went terribly wrong in the opening. And now I think this is where Andreikin stumbles. Computer calls for bishop takes d5 by far. And that gives white almost a 2-point advantage. But what he does is, this one I don't get at all. Bishop takes d5 makes more sense. Trade off some of the attacking pieces. Bishop takes, queen takes, knight d7 is an excellent continuation. That's what the computer wants. He goes rook to f8. And it jumps to over 3-point advantage now for white. Black is just... And I'm really surprised. Gelfand, of course, is a world-class player, and there's no one better. I mean, he challenged Anand for the World Championship and missed it by a hair's breadth on tie-break blitz games. But even still, Gelfand is a huge opening theory expert. This guy still works out to this day. He's in his 40s. As Kasparov said a million times, Bob Vinnick said, and he agrees 100%, if you put your work in the chess, it'll pay off. And Gelfand has proved that. Andreikin's a young guy. Very talented young guy. Over 2,700. But I think one of the commentators mentioned Andreikin hasn't played a serious classical game in 6 months. Why? I don't know. Maybe some personal things to take care of. Just take some time off. I'm not really sure what he was thinking. But anyway, maybe he's a little rusty. Because after bishop takes, queen takes, knight d to d7, it's still crappy for black. Don't get me wrong. But it's a lot different than what happened. After rook to f8, we're only on move 17. e5. Here we go. And that is the correct move by far on the computer. Now it's 3.5-point advantage for white. D takes. f5. Desperation attempt maybe. Instead of d takes was f5. Then after e takes, knight f6, knight takes, rook takes. It's still terrible for white. Terrible. After d takes f5, open up that king position, and here we are. Nice rook. This knight's in the vicinity. This knight's in the vicinity. This here, and even depending on a sneak attack here with this knight moves, attacking the bishop. I mean, this is just terrible. Queen of d8. Now, we've all been here before. And it feels horrible when you're playing, especially at this level. He's got to be beside himself. f6 check. Oh my gosh. Knight takes. Now, where's the good move here, folks? I'll be straight with you. Knight takes f6. Basically draws. What is the winning move? Stop the video now and see if you can find it. It's a beautiful move. Beautiful move. Knight to f5 check. Give you an idea, if knight had taken f6, queen takes, rook takes, bishop takes, knight takes, knight to c6, and it's back 3 pawns for a piece, and black's got an even game here. Well, white's about a third of a pawn, 2/3 of a pawn ahead. After knight to f5 check, king has to move. If he takes that instead, knight to e3. Just horrible. Just horrible. Because after queen takes, knight takes check, it's over. Queen h6, after the king moves, rook to g8, knight takes f6, and that's the end. It's an 18-point advantage. To give you an idea, after knight takes, queen takes, knight, queen has to take. You're threatening this. You're threatening this. This rook's guarding this. Queen takes, rook takes. Well, you get the idea. It's over. Anyway, folks, that's another game from round one. Poor Andreikin. He's young, though, but I'm really surprised he got in that much trouble that quick. So us old guys, like me, Boris, and some of them, I'm not as good as Boris, but we still have some tricks left. And Boris knows his opening theory. You make one big inaccuracy, it's over. And he just proved it. Congrats to Prix-Gelfand. Tough break for Andreikin. Anyway, folks, I want you to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.